Hello and welcome back. Hope you enjoyed that bit of footage. Went on a little bit longer than I thought it was going to. When I first started that, I didn't realise it would develop quite that far, and I kept having another idea, and I thought I'd probably just stick with it. Let's bring that to a stop there. I'll pop the controls down. You can see I've got a couple of catalogues here as well. We'll get to that in a moment. Let's just have a look at this GWR pannier tank to start with. Now I know we had the glossy version of this. I think it was last week, and I think I said I had a matte version from the later 70s with finer scale wheels, and I couldn't find it, and indeed it cropped up the following day after I'd finished all of that, and this is that model. So you can see it's got it's much finer sort of wheels there. But if you have a look at the insert picture there, you can see that in its box. But the paperwork dated 77, and it's got that sort of waxy coloured plastic, so waxy finish to the plastic that a lot of these sort of mid to late 70s items began to acquire. Still quite a lovely runner. As we saw on the bottom there, it's got the sort of later drive gear, and it's got the big plastic worm. You have a look at the insert picture there. You can see that running on the rolling road. So I think we'll just have a quick look at the glossy version with it. So I'm just going to leave that there, and we'll just grab the gloss version, and let's see if we can encourage that forwards a little bit. So let's get the uncoupler. I know I've had several videos where I've failed miserably with the uncoupler, and I think that's more down to the adjustment on the couplings rather than my skill with the uncoupler, if you can call it a skill. Let's grab that. So let's bring that. Whoops! I'm walking straight over the cables there. So let's put that one there. So there's that little mark on the front of the tank there that I hadn't noticed, so I can't work out whether that's just a bit of dust sitting there. So there, it is really deep, glossy and shiny, and then we've got this much later matte one there. Let's have a quick glance at actually this item here. I don't know what that is, so I won't embarrass myself by saying what it is. But this is very shiny, deep and shiny on there, shiny plastic, and this is all sort of matte finish. So let's just put both models on their sides and have a swift look at them, so we can see this one's got a partially flanged centre drive wheel there, and this one's got a much older style. Well, not that old, because it's they're not semi-plated. They are plated, but quite crudely so. It's got a sort of plated tyres, but I think the design of the wheel may be very similar to 060 chassis wheels going back quite a way into the 60s. But yeah, quite interesting models. I thought we'd just have a glance at those. I'll just pop that back on the track there, and then we'll abandon those, because I know we've seen this running quite well in another video, and we saw that one running nicely at the beginning of this video. So we'll abandon those for now. We'll just leave them sitting there. So we've got the Albert Hall. Now I'm just going to grab my notes for a second. So this is probably not a perfect model. Oh, definitely not a perfect model. It's got some faults, but it is a bit of a charger. So this is I'm looking at completely the wrong notes here. There we go. You can see my confusion. This is the pad I thought I'd brought in here, and I'd actually picked up a pad which is already full, and I can't write any more in it. So we'll get rid of that one, so we don't make that same mistake again. So R.759 and potentially R.70 tender. So Albert Hall come along 1966. So I think I was just saying that this model's not a perfect one. It's sort of an unboxed item I've had for quite some time, and it's got some chips and stuff out of it, and the paintwork is rather worn. We'll get this off the rails and have a look at it a bit later on. So 66 to 77, and I think I've shown in an earlier video a much later 70s one from the Jubilee set from 77, and again that's in that sort of waxy plastic, just like this one. That has the chuff chuff sound. So these were made in a GW variant with a slightly different tender, and also these were glossy over time as well. They're really high gloss finish, some of them, and of course it was turning the Lord Westwood as well. So we must get the Lord Westwood out. We've got these coaches here, these Western style coaches. So the roofs are sort of slightly different colours if we have a look over those. So the one at the lead one has a slightly bluish tinge to it, doesn't it? So that's a R330 Western mainline, and these coaches, these short coaches, were made between sort of 1960 and 62. And now we've got the restaurant car R331, and then we've got the brake R329. I think the restaurant car has the internal units inside it, but I've got seating in the composite, but my brake doesn't have any seating in it. It'd be nice to have seating throughout those, wouldn't it? And it's again, they're not great. They're unboxed. They've got little chips out of them. I think the restaurant car has definitely got some of these, or might be steps. They're completely missing. I hadn't realised they were in quite such poor condition. I knew they weren't boxed, but I didn't realise they had sort of chips and stuff out of them. But we'll have those off the rails in a moment, and we'll have a look over those. I mentioned earlier, it is a bit of a charger. It's an incredibly powerful model, this. So we'll just have a glance at the catalogues whilst we've got them. So here we've got I think this is the 61 catalogue. I just got it out because it sort of had a nice sort of rake of these coaches. We've got two composites, and we've got a restaurant, another composite, and there we've got a brake. So a nice long rake there made up on the railway, almost getting too long for a railway. I think that's got to be, I think that looks like the tender for the Britannia. So we had that running in the opening sequence. We've got that sitting over here, been standing on the railway for quite some time. So that's R259. So these came along early 1960s. And this is quite an early one, I think. It's got solid wheels. It's a double line tender and cab sides. Beautiful item. It's one of the what's the best way of saying this? I've had the item one of the longest in the collection. I bought it quite early on from the model railway shop. Absolutely gorgeous item. It does have its boxes. So this has been in a number of videos, and it's been on the railway for a few weeks now. Really, it's a lovely item to run. And so what was the tender on that one? R35. So originally they were sold with separate tenders, and we could have smoke. And I think eventually we ended up with chuff chuff sound, and some very glossy versions turned into Oliver Cromwell and so on. But gorgeous locomotives. And then we've got the 66 catalogue here. Just thought we'd have a swift look at that. We won't delve into the 61 catalogue too much because we've seen it quite recently. So I think Albert Hall was sort of shown here. So R759 Western Region Hall class locomotive, Albert Hall, and R760 tender. Exclusive magnesian works through the rear pair of drive wheels, complete with driver and fireman. Now I don't have driver and fireman with my model, and they don't appear to have ever been stuck in. The handrail, as we'll see a bit later on, is a reproduction. That was definitely not present when I got it, and there's some little bits chipped off the footplate down one side, although I can't remember which side that is right now. So yeah, let's have a quick look over here. So new locomotives to be released in 1966. I've got the gorgeous High-Mech in green. Of course, we saw the blue High-Mech, a slightly later variant of it, running on the railway quite recently. So you've got all these nice symbols here, which sort of are key to what the locomotives would feature. So we'll have a quick look over here. So it is my intention to get this set out quite soon, because I think this would be gorgeous. I know we've had loads of Pullmans, but I think we've got some Western items on the railway at the moment. I think we're going to have to revisit the Pullmans, but you can't get overtired of Pullmans, and this is a gorgeous item. So again, some lovely imagery on this page. So we'll just actually, I have the set. I've just remembered I do have the set as well. I've got an individual diesel locomotive like this, but I do have it in the set. I'd forgotten all about that. I think it's got quite a wonderful picture on the cover of the box. So I think we'll definitely take the time to have a look at that. So again, some gorgeous items. We've seen a similar set to that in recent times. And then we've got the Barnstaple here, and there's a Britannia, and the L1. Gorgeous items. We've had the Winston Churchill Battle of Britain class loco. Got a black variant of that sitting on the railway at the moment. We're getting really bogged down in the catalogue, but this is full of rather lovely images. A Ginty smoking now. I think I've had one of those in a video quite recently. We haven't had this locomotive on the railway for ages, or a B12. I don't know, it's quite some time since we've had the B12 out. So we'll just have a quick whiz through here. Of course, we've had nothing with pantographs running recently because lack of catenary. No way to get the power. Well, of course, we can take it from the tracks, but I think we should wait until we get catenary back on the railway, and the Hornby 00 Kobo sneaking into the range here as well. Great coaches. So these are the much longer style coaches. The Mark I style coaches, longer being not a very technical term, but they are technically longer. And they've got the CKD kits here, and they've got this great group of passengers and not a barman, a waiter perhaps. So that's quite a nice item. Great set of coaches. Now the colours in this catalogue are rather filled in. They're sort of a little bit dull is the word I'm looking for. They're not terribly vibrant in this print, but I think we can excuse it. We've got the converter wagon, and then the terrific battle space items. So I know a lot of people go mad for these items. I've got a few of them. We'll have a look at some of them at some point. But with the fragile nature of these models, I don't think I'll ever be getting into sort of launching aircraft and firing rockets or helicopters, because they're just too fragile now, I think. So it's a shame they've lasted this long, and I really wouldn't like to launch that and break the blades or sails off that. So turbo car, my turbo car doesn't look like this. This must be an artist's impression of the turbo car. So it's a slightly different sort of animal. Mine's missing some stickers off the front end of it. With a nice sort of setup here. I've got the little car. I've got the little cars. I was looking at the catalogue rather than looking where I'm pointing the camera. So again, we have seen these before, but I think they're just lovely lovely images to revisit. So we've got one of these stations on the railway, sitting there, not quite as impressive, but we've got a fair amount of platform with it. So it is my intention. I'd forgotten. I got this a few weeks ago and forgot all about it. Let's just grab that. So I got one of those, and after the last two videos, I thought, well, I'm going to install that on there, and I've never got around to it. Obviously, it needs a bit of a wash, doesn't it? It's got some mucky stuff on it, possibly paint. We'll see if we can clean that up. So I think that's from an island station, but that just fell into my hands one day, and I think that'll look quite nice there for passengers to sort of wait. Although it will obscure the view a little bit of trains sitting there. I'd still love to get a hold of the goods shed to stand in there with a crane. I think that would be quite impressive. That's part of my thinking about leaving that space there. Maybe one day we shall see what happens. So more of those 00 items which have crept into the catalogue. Separate names for stations and so on here. suspension bridge. So we haven't managed to creep a suspension bridge into this layout. And another item keep an eye out for, but maybe next layout we'll get a suspension bridge running along the back here somewhere. They do eat up an awful lot of space, especially lead in, lead out. But yeah, I think suspension bridge could be quite an impressive item. I did enjoy running stuff across it on that last railway. Again, a terrific illustration here of these locomotives with the pantographs in action. This one being the first variant with the twin pantographs on it. All lovely items here. I saw some bits of Super 4 and stuff I'd been kindly given the other week. The Super 4 style turntable. Oh, there we go. We've got the back cover there. There's the goods shed. Look, the very item. So one will come my way one day at the right price. It's the right price, because some of them have rather silly prices on them. So let's. All of these things in the end have silly prices on them. It depends on whether we really want them or not at the time. But I have to say, out of the items, the goods shed does seem to, for what it is, does seem to command rather a high price. So let's get that to run a little bit around the railway. So I've got a rather unusual route set for it at the moment. So obviously it doesn't want to run at all at the moment. It's been sitting there. So I'm going to give that a little bit of a nudge. Let's see if that encourages it. There we go. So that'll come back round into the station. There we go. Now I'm going to just set this uncoupler here. Let's see if I can get my finger in there. Let's see if we can leave the coaches there, and I'm going to pick up these two horse boxes and the other coaches, the Clearstory coaches sitting on the other platform there. And let's give that a little bit of a run. I didn't stop that with suddenly enough to trigger what I'm after there. So I think if we just back up a fraction, I've gone too far. So let's go back further. I did this better in the early part of the video. Let's come back around here. That's it. I've got it. So when we drive that away, very satisfying when that works. So I'm just going to fiddle with some point work here. So we want that one. That's the far end. That's the one I wanted anyway. It wasn't the one I thought I was throwing first. And let's back that one up to there. There we have it. And then away we go. So there's a train now. You could probably put on a couple more of those style coaches on the back there. Would become quite impressive. And we'll just run that around. I think we'll stay with this unusual route. So this will run around the far side of the station this time. Let's see if we can come a little bit higher. And through it goes. So I'm just going to stop it just by the gasometer here, or the oil storage tank. It's one of the two. And I'm going to change this point here. We'll bring it onto that long siding. And let's see if we can have a swift look at the locomotive. There we go. So I think we're all good to go into there. So let's just bring that around. There we go. So I'm just going to put the controls down somewhere sensible, mainly so I don't end up with the cables twisted around my feet. So we'll grab the uncoupler, which we've left over here. And then we'll just grab that. And then we'll just have a swift look over these models. So not too bad a condition, definitely well handled. So no chuff in this one. I think the chuff would have come along in the 70s rather than the 60s. So I'm thinking this is an earlier one. So you can definitely see there's been a great deal of handling where it's sort of a build-up of muck around the rivets and so on. So I think it's got all of its steps. So we'll just pop that one on there. And let's grab the locomotive. So I think that's a metallized part. Yeah, it feels to be some sort of metal on the top of there. Let's see if we can just have a closer look on there. I did do a video a long time ago, and I got a boxed version of this. I found it at Shieldon some time ago, and I don't think I've ever run it. I was trying to remember whether I have, but this one came to hand first. And just sort of in keeping with a number of things I've been running on the railway, I've decided to do more of the unboxed items at the moment, just as we're running through. I know some of the 70s items do have their boxes, but yeah, so some of the more play-worn things, you can see along here, it's got some chipping and something's nibbled away at it. So, and let's have a look there. You see my home knitted handrail there has been just inserted in there. Bit of wire work. We'll have a look just over the. You see we've got the magnet adhesion there, the magnet just behind that rear drive wheel, making it a very strong puller. And I mean, this one will charge around the railway. So, great deal of fun. So I'm just going to put that back on the rails. Let's see if we can do that. And I'm going to leave it uncoupled. I'm not doing a terribly good job of this. We'll pop that on there. There we go. Actually, I'm just going to switch the camera off for a moment, and something's just occurred to me, and I'm also going to put that station part in place, even though it's not cleaned. So we'll jump back to this. I've just plugged that into the platform there. I think it looks rather good, actually. It'll be a bit more impressive once it's not so mucky. But I think that's quite a nice item there. So it looks quite good. Not sure whether it needs another one or not. I was thinking perhaps it would be nice to find another one, but looking at it with the rest of it, I think that sort of suits it quite nicely. Sometimes you can have too many of a thing on a railway. Sometimes sort of just a hint of something. That's my story anyway. But no, I think that looks quite good. I think I wouldn't be averse to having another one, so it would be quite nice. But I think definitely we're going to get that good shed in there one day. Right, so the other thing that suddenly sprung to mind was I did have a Great Western tender, which I picked up separately at another point. So I thought we might just pop that on there, and then when I was in the box digging that out, I thought, well, we might as well have another coach on here with it as well. So I'm just going to move the locomotive forward a little, and we will have a look at those. I forgot. I realised the video now is definitely not going to be very short at all. It's going to get a little bit longer, but again, we don't plan these things overly. So let's whip that one off there. Now, I don't know whether they sold these at the time as separate items, but this one just shows up as an item being sold separately on a market stall at one point. So I thought I'd have that. So let's grab that. The wheels aren't as free running on this. I think a little bit of work could be done on those to make those better. And let's let's pop the additional coach in here. Whoops, I've just knocked that. So again, I can't remember the number for these coaches, but I'll pop that in the bottom of the screen there. I think these came along in the early 60s, made for a period of time, possibly again reappearing in the 70s. And they did have pinpoints at some point as well. But these are open axle boxes, all rather rattly and quite light. There we go. Yeah, that sounds reasonably convincing. Let me get rid of this packaging, and we'll pop that down there. We'll just keep that safe there. And let's see if we can couple that back up there. And let's just push those back out onto the main line. Yeah, the version I have out of the Silver Jubilee set has the chuff chuff sound in it. Can be quite annoying, but it is quite entertaining. Let's close that point there. And let's take this around to the station. And bring that along there. And I'm going to simplify the route a bit, just so we can try some of its express speed qualities that this locomotive has. So just for the added fun, yeah, that was definitely that one there. We've got nothing lying on the station. Everything's all good there. So we just need to close that one. And I might as well just tidy up this whilst we're at it, I think. Yeah, I should have done that when I was walking the other way. Just in case for later when I'm doing something else. So let's see if we can have a little bit more of an express run around the railway now. Non-stopping service to start with. Look at that, it's definitely a charger, and we will stop there, because what's never going to happen if I don't do it now is we won't have a look at these coaches. So let's pull those back a little. Relatively free running, all got sleeved wheels. Let's pop this one off. And let me get the numbers again. So this is the brake, this is R.759. Again, we said these were sort of 1960 to 62, just before the slightly longer length Mark 1s came in. We've got a triangle on the bottom there. So all open axle boxes. Fairly nice thing. So am I going to be able to re-rail that? He says hopefully. There we go. Got that one in one. And the restaurant car's got those sort of beige curtains, so chocolate and cream coach with beige curtains. Bit of shrinkage in evidence there with the curtains as well. It's usually the way I think the acetate used in these definitely shrank quite rapidly. I wonder how rapidly it did shrink. So I haven't come across any that haven't shrunk. So we've got triangle railway. We've got a model number on the bottom there. We've got 229, 224. So none of those are this coach. Have we got this coach in there? No. So I can't remember which 229 and 224 was, but I'll put those in the bottom of the screen. So there we've got the seating unit, which actually might have come adrift in there. It might just have drifted backwards. I think that needs to be adjusted forwards in there. So, but I think we'll do that another day. So I do love these coaches at this length. I think they are great. And let's just have a look there. You see the step under the door there being snapped off, and the same on that side, and the same there. So somebody's either done that purposely, or it's just had quite a lot of rough and tumble during its life. Let's pop those there. I'm not doing that at all well, am I? There we go. So the restaurant car was R.331, Again, a lovely detailing on the roof there. And then we've got the composite. Now the interior in here is quite sort of light and bright, but we've got a little bit of somebody's had some name boards, I think, stuck on here at some point. Before it came to me, it didn't have them on there, so I think it's got a similar. No, actually it hasn't got marks on this side, but again, relatively nice condition. But it would be nice to have a nicer set of these, shall we say. Again, not 100% necessary, but just something that sticks out in your mind when you're looking for things. Obviously boxes would be quite nice. I've derailed that there, so I think we'll get back to the Albert Hall there with the Great Western tender on it. We'll give that another run, and then we'll pick up those coaches, and I think we might call it a day at that. So again, that's coming in quite nice. Whoa! Camera getting very, very heavy when I lean over the railway like that. And then let's just have a look at that coming past that new installation at the station there. Looking pretty good. Yeah, I extended my arm just a little too far over from what is really comfortable there, and found myself getting the wobbles with trying to hold the camera still. I should move that pad, it looks too white sitting there. So let's see if we can employ the uncoupler again here. So let's do that, and we'll put that one back in the down position. So what we're after is a stop abrupt enough to let the coaches roll forward so the tension comes out of it. Have I got it? I've stopped just short. Let's have another go. I didn't stop abruptly enough, so there we go. Couplings have sprung up there. And we'll roll forward. And we'll just do a couple of points, and that should give us access to those other coaches we've just been having a look at. So we'll roll this backwards. There we have it. I am going to move this pad because it's annoying me sitting there. Pop it down there, and away we go. Let's see if we can just follow this around. So I'll use two hands on the camera rather than going one-handed over the top here. So I think I left everything okay on that side of the railway. Again, non-stopping through the station. Let's come back a bit. I'll do better next time around. I misjudged that. When you move, the camera moves at its own rate. It's just judging the rate at which the camera will move. So let's get out ahead of it this time. That was nicer. So I think I'm going to grab the controls, we'll bring this to a stop. And thanks again for looking in. Hugely appreciated that you're taking the time to watch. Again, videos just come on a little bit longer than I had thought, so we'll just bring that gently to a stop about there. Thanks a lot. Goodbye now.